but there were a few deaths. 3 deaths reported in the last year, and then 1 which wasn't reported previously. It died in 2004, but it was just recently reported. And there were no transfers between institutions, and no institutions came online last year. So looking at this summary, it doesn't appear as though very much has happened with this species over the last year. So there's a very sad-faced one. But this is the number of participants and the number of animals in each of their collections. And you can see that there's probably a much better situation than with the seahorses in terms of participants. And there are a few potential facilities that have expressed an interest in holding them in the future. So sea life centers in Loch Lomond, Munich, and at Budapest. And there are animals available, so Warren said if anybody is interested in working with this species, please do get in touch with him because he can make sure that the animals get to you. It's really important to go down this path before going and buying one in from somewhere that you don't necessarily know where it's from. So it'd be really good if you could actually participate in the program. They have, okay. Hot off the press. Okay, fantastic. So they've done their moves now. As Max has mentioned with ESBs, it's not just about the population management, and Warren's got some key objectives for this ESB. He obviously wants to breed with founders as a priority, but and produce the stud book, and he promised that he would get the stud book done, didn't he, by next year. And he wants to increase the number of holders, but he also wants to develop husbandry guidelines for the species, so those people that are interested in keeping them, if they aren't familiar with species, they haven't kept it before, and they would like them, that they can be given the husbandry guidelines prior to receiving animals. He also wants to circulate and transfer breeding recommendations based on the mean kinship and inbreeding throughout participating institutions, and explore some in situ links, which I think is always good. There may not always be a direct link for, in the wild populations, but if there are, I think they should be certainly developed and added to the work of the stud book. And just a note about the husbandry guidelines as well. There's been a move to try and make husbandry guidelines a little bit less onerous to produce, and kind of making these more as husbandry notes, and that way they're much more dynamic, because many program coordinators have said, yes, I want to develop husbandry guidelines, and if you look at the rules for developing these within EASA, it's a huge amount of work, and just having helped with the hippocampus one, it was just way too much. So we're trying to find more easy ways of contributing useful data as notes, rather than just repeating what's already available in text elsewhere. There's a list of references if anybody's interested in them. These will be available, put onto the website, so you can go onto the EUAC website and look at those there. And there's a final picture. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Katie?
Hi again. So I am a stud bookkeeper for the Pristus species in Europe. The Deep isn't actually an EASA member, but we've taken on 2 separate stud books, one for Pristus, I'll come on to this, it was previously Pristus microdon, and Pristus zidron. They are both critically endangered and listed on the IUCN Red List. As I said, we aren't members of EASA, so we are kindly supported by Oceanographic in Valencia and Oceanopolis in Brest for this. So coming on to the change in taxonomy, this year it was actually reported that Pristus microdon was actually part of the Pristus species. These are the 3 that have now been categorized together: Pristus microdon and Pristus I can't get my lips around it today. Pristis I give up. Paritetti. So thank you. So now, confusingly, these are all classified as pristis. Although I imagine within aquariums it will take us a while to change our taxonomy. But this was actually based on mitochondrial studies for their DNA and also morphological characteristics, so it's pretty much set in stone now that this is the case. So current status in Europe is that we don't have very many. We've pretty much surveyed everybody, and as far as I know, there are 8 institutions keeping either Zidgeron or Pristis. Thankfully, all the Zidgeron are paired up, which makes life slightly easier, but at the moment, Pristis are currently either kept in same-sex pairs or individually. They're all wild-caught founder stock, and at the moment, there hasn't been any recorded breeding within Europe. Worldwide, there has been a successful breeding event for Pectinata. However, I'm not entirely sure whether the young survived. This was at Paradise Islands in the Bahamas, and I believe this has happened on a couple of occasions. However, there are no Pectinata or Clavata in Europe. So, based on global data, this data is courtesy of Stacia White from Ripley's Aquarium, who hosts the AZA Pristis stud book. You can see the numbers globally are very low, with only 53 Pristis and 35 Zidgeron. This year, we've managed to create a literature review for both species relevant to us. As I mentioned, Zidgeron are all currently paired up, which is great, and we are working collaboratively with the AZA on a husbandry manual. We think actually this will be a good product for all of us to develop, and it's something that we will be continuing to work on, although, as Max mentioned, they are sort of quite slow growing and take quite a long time to develop. A husbandry survey has been sent out to currently all the keepers of known keepers of sawfish, and this is just really to grasp information on who is keeping what data for this species. And Stacia will hopefully present this at the Elasma Bank Symposium in Monterey next month. So the goals for the stud book. It is quite a tricky stud book for a number of reasons. Firstly, due to the lack of individuals, and secondly, for the size that these animals really get to. Obviously, we'll continue to work on the husbandry manual, and this will form a major part of it. But another thing that we will be looking to do is potentially pair up some of the Pristis within Europe. There are some interested people in moving animals, which is great news. However, again, it's still complicated because of the size of these animals. We are potentially talking about planning these for quite a while in terms of walls may need to be taken down. Moving animals of this size is potentially very complicated, and we'll be looking to the support of Cairns Marine and so on, who have a lot of experience in moving large Pristis. So long term, we also need to be looking at other aspects, such as if we are successful, where will these Pristis go? Where will we be able to house them? We are limited within Europe as to for large facilities, so we need to ensure that long term we maybe have some places further afield, maybe in the States and so on, that might be able to help us out. But as I say, there are lots of goals. There is no current breeding yet. We have a long way to go, and so we will just continue to slowly work on this. If I haven't sent you the stud book last week, then I don't know about you. So please, if you are aware of anybody else who keeps Pristis, then please come and see me. At the moment, we have the Deep, Genoa, Oceanographic Valencia, Universum Science Centre in Göteborg, Oceanopolis, Sea Life Oberhausen, La Rochelle, and Mare Nostrum. So if you're not on that list, I don't yet know about you, and please, we'd be delighted to learn about your sawfish. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katie. Marion?
Thank you, Max. Hi there. I'm Marion. I'm from Düsseldorf, Aquasur Düsseldorf. And I'm the new coordinator of the modern piece of Potamotrylgon leopoldi and Atelomyctus marmoratus. And I just want to give you a quick overview of this status of those species. And those are my first monitors, so I'm just starting up with this kind of management and coordinating. So just, yeah, have to fix it a little bit, and it's only a quick overview. Okay. I just want to tell you something about the freshwater stingray, the Leopoldi species. And I had a look at the IUCN data, what they write about the species, and there is a data deficient at the moment. But they wrote on the internet site, they are currently under study, so there will be much more information about the species in the future, hopefully. It is an endemic species that, in the Xingu River basin, and it prefers rocky grounds. It feeds mainly on snails and crabs, and it has got a relatively high reproduction numbers. It's between 4 and 12 pups, and average it's 7. So that means there could be a lot of pups or individuals in our population. The main threats in the past came from ornamental fish trade and from persecution due to the fear of sting injuries. That's quite a lot, I think, and from habitat lost by agriculture or gold mining, or from sedimentation in the rivers. And yeah, in 2011 there starts a big dam building project in Belo Monte. And I think that's the main threat for the future for this species, because there will be an issue of genetic separation coming from this dam building. Yeah, and we will see what brings this to the species in the future. I tried to get some numbers and holders for this overview. I don't have the in and outs for the 1 year period now, but I know, yeah, which institutions I have to follow up, and I will send you an email in the next weeks, I think, just to ask for your populations. And I learned there are some institutions which are not on this list right now that have this species, so I will ask for some input from you. I had 2 different kind of data for my for this list. I looked at the census from Max, and there were 4 institutions in this census telling us that they have this species, and there we have it's from 2011, and there we have 10 animals in this population. And then I had a look at ZIMS, at the data of ZIMS, and there were quite a lot more institutions in there. So I have to mix this in a. I have to match those institutions and bring it in next year in one list, together in one list. And there are some more individuals, around 60 in North America, but I think we should only have a look at the European population first. That's what I'm planning to do in the next time. Yeah, when I had a look at the ZIMS data, is it in this? No, it's the other species, I think. But it's funny, if you have a look at the ZIMS data, you learn a lot out of the reports. You can follow up some individuals where they were born and something like that. And I think it's a very good way to get a clue of the population. So I have to do it a little bit deeper in the future. The other species is Atelomyctus marmoratus, and the IUCN says that this is near threatened. Maybe they will update this species to vulnerable in the near future. But it's not, there's no so many information about this animal in the wild. They know it's common, it's widespread during the Indo-West Pacific, but that's all they know. There's not many information about the biology, about the reproduction, the feeding. So if anybody of you has this species, please tell me, let me know. And if you have any experience with breeding or holding this animal, I would be keen to learn from you and to hear from you. So we have a big lack of data in this species. Main threats for this species is diamond fishing, coal mining, and really increasing fishing pressure for food items, I think. So we have to follow up this species. And there you can see we have 11 individuals in this in the census, which from 2011 from Max. There are some holders there. And we have in Sims we have only 2 holders. I learned Göteborg, which is in this list, and they were not birthed in the last year or in the last 12 months. But I heard from you now that you have a lot of pups, so I have to put all this information I learned during the last 2 days. I have to put them in the list, I think. And there are some more aquariums. I had a look in an internet list, which is a German website. It's called Sootierliste. And there are some quite enthusiastic people going around between zoos and following up species. And that's where I got some of those institutions listed here in this here. And there is at the Potamotrögon leopoldi, the last in the list is Tropicariat helsingborg. It's Elin from Sweden. Is she here? Ah, there. I talked to her yesterday, and it's funny, I found her in this Sootierliste somewhere, and now I learned they are breeding this species, so that's very good. And I have to match all those 3 lists to one pool, and then ask around, okay, what kind of numbers do you have and what's in the population? I will do that for both species. I have to do it in the next weeks, so I will send around an email mainly to the EUAC members and somehow to the EASA members. I have to consider how to do this. But please, if you have one of those species, it would be very nice if you just tell me, let me know, and I can come or send you then the email, and I put you in my group. It would be very good if we can stay in contact, and if you could tell me anything about the species, especially about the coral reef shark, that would be very good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Maran. Chris? Somewhere.
Thanks. Just to start off with, I just wanted to say I didn't really know what I was getting into when we started on the stud book for the Melanopterus, but it's actually been amazing fun. It's been really, really interesting. The more you learn about it, the more people tell you about it, the more you find out about it, the more interesting it becomes. So I'd recommend anyone does it in a species they're interested in. And to say thank you very much to Emma Rees. She's going to talk about the bowmouth in a minute, but she's been doing a lot of the work on the stud book, and we've also had a student, Suzanne, I can't remember her surname, McBride as well, who's just helped us for the last month, and she's actually back in Weymouth now, still working on the blacktip stud book, just looking for any patterns there might be in the data that we've got so far. So questionnaire responses. We actually sent them out globally as well, just to see if there's anyone else who's had experiences with breeding. We've had 52 replies. It was basically a spreadsheet with a number of different tabs. So the first one was describing the tank that the animals are in, and all the details they have, you know, what the temperature is, what the temperature fluctuation is through the year, what the daylight cycle is, all this kind of stuff. And the second one was really about all the animals that they've had in the past 5 years and what their current status is. And then the most interesting one that we've found really is the third one, which was about their breeding experiences and what experiences they've had over those 5 years. And that's, as soon as I get one of these inventories, you can't help but go straight to that page to see if there's anything exciting that's happened. So of the European replies, which is what I'm going to concentrate on today, we've had 42 replies. 14 of those sites have had breeding observations, which could be anything from watching the sharks breed to actually seeing a pregnant female or to having a birth. There's 199 sharks in the stud book as of October this year. There's 68 males to 89 females and 42 unknown. And a number of them have just replied without the full detail, so we'll go back and get more data later. But we appreciate everybody who's answered already. There's been a fairly steady population increase since 1996, and the maximum population reached was in 2011, and there's been a slight decrease since. So there's more females in captivity than males. So the breeding experiences, so 27 pups born in Europe since 2007, so there's actually quite a number of births. Of that amount, there's only 3 pups that are still alive in aquaria today. And I think that's why this stud book's so important, because we've got to be able to change that from, from this very low survival rate, find out what's successful in those 3 pups, and then try and translate that to everyone else, and at least share that information. So, 48% of them were stillborn, and this is a major issue. And I'm very interested in other stud books and other people who have experienced stillborns to see if anyone else has found particular reasons for the stillborns, because maybe we can, again, translate that over to this stud book. There's been a lot of cannibalism from the mother and other sharks, so quite often black-tipped reef shark needs a large kind of quarantine space, so if they have a female that's pregnant, they don't have the option to be able to move her off-show to allow her to pup off-show. And so what often happens is the pups will come out, and straight away either the mother or one of the other sharks will eat them. It's generally overnight as well, so you'll come in the morning, and you might find, for example, people have said their female was looking very large the day before. The next day she's lost weight, so they know she's given birth, but you can't tell what's actually happened. It's possible that we've got a lack of suitable quarantine facilities for pregnant mothers, but that's what we'd like to determine, and then at least we could start recommending what a suitable quarantine facility is, because no one really knows. And lack of identification of pregnant sharks, and I think a lot of this is communication, and so I'll show you some pictures in a minute. And of course it's about the judgment, being able to tell when the shark's about to give birth, so that you actually have people stay the night, or you move the shark, or whatever it is you're going to be able to do. And understanding when you're going to move that pregnant female. We had an experience this year in Weymouth, I think last month. We'd moved a shark that looked pregnant. We put it into our quarantine, and she did give birth, and she gave birth to 2 stillborns. So I did film it. We got a little bit of footage from it, and it was quite a chaotic ride up until that point. We weren't 100% sure she was pregnant, and we were going to do an ultrasound on the day that she actually gave birth. So that's the way it works. Just one other aspect to the stud book is we did a pathological findings report on all of the black-tipped reef sharks that had died within sea life over the last 10 years, and these are the results in order. I'm going to do more about this at the Monterey meeting, but it's quite useful to be able to see. So the majority of the animals are 6 to 7 years old, and the females appear to be outliving the males, and it was very exciting to see that Leipzig Zoo's got a 21-year-old female, but it's currently without a mate, and there's a fairly equal spread of sexes. So there's a table. It'll obviously be on the website, so if you want to go through and infer your own ideas about the numbers and see if you want to swap sharks, you can do that yourself as well. This is just a quick population. Shows you the population increasing in Europe over the years, and the male to female ratio, and these are the ages of the animals. As I say, it'll be easier for you to look at it on the website. Emma's about to present this at the European Elasmobranch Association, I think it's in 2 weeks' time, and this gives you a lot of the data that I've just talked about. And it's very exciting to see Mahaline at Skaven Sea Life Centre has this baby 1-year-old shark that's still doing well, touch wood. So moving on, this is the last slide. I just wanted to introduce this. I know the book looks a bit like a detective book or something, but it's been amazing to speak to Isla Porcher. She actually lived in Tahiti, and she every day she went out diving with sharks, and she fed them, and the same sharks every single day. And she drew pictures of every single one using the dorsal fin as a way of recognising each shark, which is something we can do as well if we want to know the individuals. But the really useful bit was in her book, she really details about the pregnancies. So she watched them get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then one day they'd go off, and then the next day or 2 days later they'd come back and they'd given birth. And so she got all of this kind of detail. And she's very kindly allowed us to use all her photographs. So anyone who has a pregnant shark, you can just see these examples. This is early pregnancy, where you can see the babies are quite far forward still, but just at late pregnancy, the babies actually push right back. And so there's your indication that she's about to give birth. And also the cloaca opens up as well. But I think just having these photographs helps a lot, because people can help identify their pregnant sharks. Okay. I'm not going to talk about these two, but next year John will be able to give an update about the monitoring programme on rays, and at the moment there's a proposal for the cow-nose rays for David Garcia. Okay, thank you. Anyone got any more details about black tips, please get in contact. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Emma?
Hey, thanks, Chris. Right, my name's Emma Rees. I'm one of the display curators at the Displays Development Department for Sea Life in Weymouth. And as Chris stated, I've been helping him work very closely on formulating the ESB for the blacktip reef sharks. And I'm also lucky enough to be the coordinator for the monitoring population programme for EASA, for rhino and chylostoma. This is going to be a very short overview of what's happened already, as I'm looking forward to getting my teeth stuck into it, but yeah, a lot of time's been taken up with looking at the black tips. So the current situation at the moment is that there's not many bowmouth rays within Europe. There's 10 in captivity in European institutions at the moment. 5 males, 4 of which are believed to be sexually mature, and 5 females, of which 2 are believed to be sexually mature. We've had 1 death in the last year, and at the moment we're currently making plans to move 2 of the large, mature animals and put them together to create a breeding programme at Blackpool Sea Life Centre. Mark Dvornak from Newport Aquarium included us in his surveys, and I distributed some out through Europe for him, and he's going to send the rest of the surveys that he got from that to me so that we can put that data together for this monitoring programme. And over the next few weeks I'll be sending out a full questionnaire to everybody just to gather any data that we haven't managed to get already. And that will be analysed, and a report will be sent out by the end of this year. And that's the short and sweet. Thanks.
Thank you, Emma.